Okay, I'm just going to welcome everybody to the Future Generation webinar. It's Meet the Judges. I've created a very brief PowerPoint to give you some of the details about the Future Generation competition, and then we'll have a chat with the judges and we'll take your questions. So feel free to enter those in the chat that's down there. It should be on your bottom bar, maybe your top bar, just a chat with a bubble. Also, feel free to enter in there and tell us where you're joining us from, and we'll just have a conversation. So I wanted to just start with just this first slide that's going to give you some details about the competition. So it's our 7th annual. The eligibility is 18 to 25-year-olds, and then figurative, portrait, and figurative. Here's our key dates. As you should probably already know, it opened June 16th. The entry deadline is August 14th at midnight, and that's midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then we announced the winners on September 10th. And then just some of the fine print details. What counts: original work from the hand of a single artist. Any traditional 2 or 3-dimensional medium is welcome. And then also just note, I know a lot of this age group, a lot of your artists are in a classroom or workshop setting because you're in the time of your life where you're educating yourself. And so you may be in an atelier, you may be taking a workshop. If you create that work in that classroom or in a workshop, it just has to be without specific direction of an instructor. And then what's not eligible is photography, electronic or computer generated art. And then your composition, if it's based on anything that you have AI generated or someone else's material, like someone else's photograph or another artist's work, those are not considered original. The full guidelines is on our website if you want to read, all of the details there. But that's really the highlights and the really, really important ones for you to consider. Also wanted to just briefly touch about recognition and awards. So the first place is a $1,200 cash award plus complimentary tuition to the Art of the Portrait Conference, and accepting your first place award on stage, including the Edward Jonas Memorial Medal, which is a beautiful medal that was sculpted, actually designed by Dawn and sculpted by Alicia Ponzio. And it's really, I think it turned out beautiful, and it's a wonderful momentum of that first place award. Second place is $800 cash award and the John Singer Sargent replica palette. And third place is a cash award, 1-year Portrait Society membership. And then the fourth place is a cash award, and then an educational video of your choice. So I just wanted to go over those details very, very briefly and quickly, because I think what you'd really rather hear from is the judges. So this year, it does rotate each year, but this year it's Dawn Whitelaw, Chelsea Lang, and Shana Levenson. And so I am going to find the stop share button so that we are large and together. And I'm going to just briefly go over the process of the judging, and then we'll just have a conversation about it. But each work is reviewed by each judge. So each of the judges you see on the screen is going to see your work that you've entered. And the voting is independent. So they each cast their vote for that piece of work, and it is judged anonymously too. So when you enter, you're assigned a number. And so each judge reviews your work by that number and then votes. And so all of the artwork that receives 3 votes then, of course, moves up to the top, and those are unanimous votes. And then we get on a joint call, and then those are reviewed again. So it's a double process. It is blind, so they don't know who the work is. And it's initially reviewed independently, and then in the final stages is all together. Now, some of the things that you'll see in the prospectus that the judges look for is, of course, technical merit, artistic technique, composition, and your expertise within the medium. But there's additional things as they're reviewing each work. And so, I just start the conversation, Don, with you to see if you want to add to what I've already said to you, said to the group. And then we'll see if we have any questions too.
Well, it's so exciting to see the work. It just, every year I've been a part of the judging, it has absolutely blown me away. And you see how bright the future is. And the process is so interesting to me because we have these guidelines, but each one of us has a little bit different take on it. And that conversation is so interesting and so enlightening. I always learn so much. And just know that the work is respected and all the judges really take such care with their decision.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, very, very, very much so. And it is a process and it takes many, many, many hours. And I think, the dedication of the jurors, I have a real appreciation for that because all the work is so good. And, that you are judging, a fellow artist and you want to be respectful and careful. And so, yeah. We did get a question that says, is it okay if you grid your canvas for your painting? Does the size of the canvas matter? Which it does not, because
Right.
this competition is all, online and from a digital. So the size does not matter. And then is it okay if you grid your canvas for your painting?
It doesn't
Don,
bother me. I don't mind when people grid. It's the end piece that really matters, I think, more so.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. If I know that there are some competitions that stipulate that like you can't have done like a projection onto your canvas. I feel woefully unprepared because I don't know off the top of my head whether our prospectus speaks to that. But no, I don't believe gridding is
No.
going to be a problem for
And
any of
hi in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I live in Albuquerque, New
I
Mexico.
know, I know.
I would just really echo what Dawn was saying a moment ago. Like, one of the things last year was my first year as a juror, and it was just such a wonderful experience. And I think from being on the outside for so long and then finally getting the peek behind the curtain, one thing I wish I could share with all of you who are entering or thinking about entering is just how freaking excited all of us are for all of you. And this is true for every single person who enters. I can't tell you how many times we would say, like, I cannot wait to see what this person submits in the future. And like, yes, that's true for people who might be winning awards, but it's also just as true. Like, I can't tell you how many times there would be an absolutely breathtaking piece. And maybe there's like one little detail that takes it out of the recognition category for whatever reason. But like all of us wanted to see more from that artist. So just know I think that it was described perfectly earlier in terms of the respect all of us have for everyone who enters. And I just wanted to really echo that by saying how much each and every one of us are cheering on each and every one of you.
Yes.
That's a really good point, Chelsea, because you feel that in the process. There is not a negativity here that's looking at, what is really good in this work. And like you said, there might be one or two things that, makes it fall below, a finalist or an award winner. But you're like, oh, if they could just solve that. And then next year, I can't wait to see what they enter. And so, yeah, it is an encouraging experience.
Yeah. And and it tends to when we're looking at pieces, there's so many technically great pieces. So I think things that do stand out are when you have a very unique voice in what you're creating. So we
Yes.
love seeing things that we haven't seen before or put us in awe of like, how did they do that? So yeah, listen to that inner voice and doing something that really speaks to who you are.
Mhm. And so let's talk briefly, like how important, Shane, I know you said just, we want you to have your voice too, but how important is to get some of the technical mastery of anatomy and a good composition, how important is that before you get the other, how weighted is that in looking at each piece?
Well, for me personally, I think it depends on the painting because sometimes you'll see a piece that has you can tell that they understand the anatomy, but they purposely do things in a more unique way. Or there's like two different varies. There's like you could tell they don't understand anatomy, that things are too, or that they've done something stylized that really still draws you in. So I do think, yeah, I think we are looking at the understanding of it, but it doesn't have to be so I don't know.
Literal.
We're not, yeah, literal. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. And sometimes when you see that anatomy, you feel like in the piece it's even intentional, like maybe
Right.
if the hands are larger or something like that,
Right.
you think the artist was emphasizing that on purpose.
Right.
So it may
Exactly.
not necessarily hold it out just because it's, not
Yeah.
perfect. What were you going to say, Don?
You sort of said it, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
So,
it's I think it needs to be emphasized that when we're coming from a place of positivity with the judging, like what does this piece give me? What does it make me feel? What does it make me be curious about? Then that other issue of technical difficulties or other things sort of take their place depending on the piece. I don't think that we can be as mathematical is not the right word, but we have to look more holistically, I believe, at the piece. So it's hard to weigh out how much this counts or that counts.
mhm. You
And
know what
that's
I
why I
think?
think I was going to say photographing is really important, making sure you photograph your work that represents
Good
itself.
point.
So,
Yes.
we really need to see the color correctly because if some people will be like, oh, well, it's just showing too dark. Well, we don't know because we're only seeing it digitally. So,
Yeah.
making sure that the photo is really representing the painting or
That,
sculpture or
yeah,
whatever.
that is a really, really good point. You do
Yes.
want to do that. And if you can't get it yourself, ask another artist
Yeah,
or even a photographer could help you do that. But there are, lots of software that will, be able to allow you to take your image and manipulate it so it's as close to your original as you possibly can
right.
get because like you're saying, Jane, that's a good point. All you see is
Yeah.
the digital. And so you want it to be the best representation of your work that you can possibly be. There is a question here. Can I submit an isolation piece where only hands or one part of the body is showing?
I think if it's a figurative, we need faces, if I know correctly, of like at least the description of what the portrait society is doing. So I think a portrait is important.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Because
Um,
I love me some just hands. Are you kidding? I could
yeah,
sharing
yeah,
that all day.
yeah, yeah.
But faces, I think, is the na kind of the nature of it.
Regarding what Chelsea said about a piece sometimes missing a small detail, how meticulous is that process, or what specifically would make a piece stay out?
I think, I mean, honestly, this comes down so much to individual circumstance, just like we were talking about, really making sure you're capturing your knowledge of anatomy in a piece. It's going to depend on what you're going for with that piece, what the style is. So, and I'm thinking about Dawn as I say all of this, because Dawn, I remember having these kinds of conversations with you last year, and I think it really depends on the piece. Um, I wouldn't let that like scare any of you away from entering. I think I would think of it more as like just because maybe you don't get the award you were hoping for, that doesn't mean your piece was somehow less than. It was just that there sometimes is like a technicality that can snag you up when maybe like your piece was a juror's favorite, but everyone just agreed that without this one little thing, it wouldn't be in the running. So I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule. I do think it really has to do with the style. Like I'm a looser painter. I might be able to get away with rendering something more loosely. but maybe another painter couldn't if the piece clearly isn't going in that direction. Um, but hopefully this gives you some reassurance on that front. I wouldn't be looking at your painting and second guessing everything.
There are a few things that I do look at when people are entering that I think that sometimes people who fear painting hands tend to hide hands in interesting ways, like behind
Mm.
heads. And so I would say dive into things that scare you the most and paint those hands because uh, we love the, expression in all matters. So don't secretly hide things away because you feel like it's a weakness. Also look at tangents, like edges. That's something I always look at when I'm looking at paintings. I think that's something important. These are just minor things. Other than that, the world is your oyster.
One thing that raises a little bit of a red flag with anatomy is when the artist has copied something that's distorted in their reference.
Yeah,
And that's kind of a red flag that this person didn't recognize that this was distorted in the photograph and just rendered it
Corrected
without
for it. That's a
and
really, really good
sometimes
point.
that will take a good piece out if that is just egregious
yeah, like hands being too small or feet being too small
or too huge.
or too huge.
Yeah,
Unless
like this.
technically I have, yeah, yeah. I have large hands, so
Someone did ask if we didn't make it into the top four, is it appropriate to reach out to the judges for constructive criticism and critique so I can do better next time?
I think that's exactly what the conference is for. I actually had a painter do exactly that this past year. So I would say that's probably the best way to reach out to us. It's also, a lot of us are usually in those critique sessions, so you might actually be able to talk
That's
to
true.
multiple of
Yeah.
us, which is great.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll ask, because there is quite a bit of time between our judging and when the conference is, we might not remember exactly what the conversation was about your piece. So if you can just remind us like how your piece did, um, that can definitely help us like dive right into what you want to know.
Because there are top four, and then there's some honor. I think there's 10 honorable mentions too. And I do think that that is one of the number one questions we get is there, can I get some feedback from the judges so that I can improve? And I do think it's important, but we get so many submissions, we could not ask the judges to review and critique and provide that feedback. But like Chelsea said, there is a format at the conference where you can have your portfolio or however you bring your images critiqued. And it's one of the most popular things. And you can actually go through the line multiple times because it's between 12 and 2 on Friday and Saturday. And you'll get, different feedback from different people, but you can take that feedback and put it together and really apply it in your work. So I think it's really one of the most beneficial things that you can do. So this question's hi judges from Eliza from Houston, Texas. Each of you, I love all of your work. Each of your styles are distinct from each other. So what would you say each of you are looking for in addition to technical execution? So really good question.
Well, I'm not looking for what I like personally or what reflects my style. I'm looking for something much bigger. It'd take 10 minutes if I just could go in and pick. I like this one, this one, this one. But that's what's so beautiful about our conversation. You begin to appreciate something someone else has seen that you had missed, and I think it really helps the results. Because we do have conversation, don't we?
Yeah.
yeah.
Chelsea, did you have anything to add to that?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard to follow what Dawn just shared because I do think that's exactly right. And I think all of us are sort of juggling what might kind of captivate us or our own kind of personal perspective, but also really wanting to step back from that and honor, you know, what are you trying to say with this piece? How is it meaning to impact somebody? And is it having that impact? Or was there something that maybe got in the way of that impact? So that absolutely leads the conversation. That being said, I feel like we have such a great variety of judges that oftentimes there are some of those like things that will just jump out to each one of us personally that makes it a really well-rounded conversation. I know speaking for myself, like I will get excited when someone is like playing with their brushwork, or if I see something that maybe is a little bit more impressionistic, like a little bit more like brave to deviate from exactly what was in front of them. But I understand that that is a personal style. You know, that doesn't make a piece better or worse. And I think all of us have little things like that that we bring to the conversation. And I think we're really great about balancing those things.
Yeah.
So I definitely wouldn't try to like aim what you're doing to speak to, you know, something that like I might have said on here. Because even if maybe I really geek out about a piece, you know, Shana or Dawn might be geeking out about different pieces. And we're looking for like which are the strongest pieces that are checking
Mhm.
all of those boxes.
Yeah.
And I think just to maybe put a bow on this, we can bring it back full circle to some of the conversation earlier about, you know, creating a piece that does really say something beyond simply being like technically really strong. If you're like me, I feel like I could copy something all day. Um, the idea of like creating a painting that is meant to say something suddenly feels kind of intimidating. So if you're the kind of painter who feels intimidated by that, paint what you absolutely geek out about. Paint what you love. Like Daniel Keyes, his florals are incredible because he loves gardening. He loves flowers. Like I love horses. I could paint, like I've been painting them since I was a little kid, and it lets me geek out about all of those details. So if you're not quite sure what kind of piece would have that impact, follow what excites you, and I'm sure it's going to show up on canvas.
Yeah. Shana, how about you? Did you
I
have
mean,
anything to
those are
add
all
to?
great, but I
Yes.
mean, I remember 2 years ago, I remember choosing a sculpture, and I'm not a sculptor at all, but it just like stood out to us. It was insane. It just like really we kept going back to this like open mouthed sculpture. It was just so well
Really powerful. I
done.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I actually kind of wash whatever I do because I'm just looking to appreciate art. So it has nothing to do with my own what I create. It's really looking at what each of you have to say. That's what I love about art is everybody has their own individual voice. And I agree with Chelsea. I mean, there are artists that can literally copy a photo. And I think that finding your artistic voice a little outside of that, working beyond that is really important. So I can't wait to see what everybody's creating or has created.
Yeah. I think that's such an important thing that you touched on is you're setting aside your personal preference is really one of the most important roles of a juror. And I think you all are able to accomplish that. And it means a certain quality to the process. I'm gonna just there's two more questions on here. Are there any requirements in terms of photo format? So we do ask for a JPEG and naming the file or the size of the file. And those instructions are in the entry form. It is a 300 DPI on the because we want you to be able to get you know like we were talking earlier, the best image that you can. And so you want to be able to adjust your file. So it is a 300 DPI and just the best image that you can get. And then here's an interesting question. Can we lean into surrealism as long as it is a portrait?
I'm gonna
I'd say,
say
I mean, I'd
yes.
say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, me too, me
We
too.
can't wait to
So
see what
I'm
that
not one of
is.
the
Just
jurors, but I
bring
think so
it.
too.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah.
way, one thing I'll add, Christine, so Bessie had a kind of related question earlier that I just wanted to make sure we tackled
Oh,
around
good.
anonymizing the entries. So the actual naming convention when you submit helps this process, and then when the judges see it, they all get renamed. So I guess technically we could really zoom in on your signature if we wanted to figure it out, but
Oh,
that's not
that's
what any of
true.
us are doing.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we have an
Not unless it's like
a
massive
system
at the
that,
bottom, which is
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
automatically
don't
brings
do
that
that.
image over into Dropbox and signs it a number. And so that's how that works. But yes, I guess if you really wanted to find out who did it, I guess you could. But I think the job ahead of you is so big. I don't think anybody's really trying to find out who
No,
they are. They're
No.
taking each
no,
individual work and reviewing them. And what I really love about how you all do it is that each of you do see every entry. And so, for all of you artists that are on here, I'm wondering if the judges are going to see your entry. They do see it and they're reviewed multiple times probably over days, and lots of
yes.
hours of sorting through the images and being really respectful to make sure that they're reviewing them and giving your piece its own time and its own consideration. So. All right, let's see if we have anything else, and then I will let you all go. I think we're good. So just want to thank all everybody for joining, but then also to the jurors for your time and your dedication and just how responsibly you review the work and give each artist their consideration. So
We're excited. I can't wait to see him.
I
Yeah,
know. So,
thank you
well,
all
thanks,
for
thanks
sharing your
everybody.
work with us.
Yes, yes. And you
Yeah.
know what? Like Don said, what's so encouraging is some of the work is just so good. And you're like,
I mean,
okay, we're in very good hands for our future.
yes.
And so,
Yeah.
love seeing it. So thank you all very much for taking your time and doing this. And
Yeah.
we appreciate it. We'll sign off.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.